Ladies and gentlemen, my God, welcome. The football show featuring Jags Skrmetta here on a Tuesday. We're going to recap every single game that we saw in week 7. I think it's week 7, right? Yeah, week 7. And we're going to do our power rankings. So let's not waste any time, huh? Let's check this out. Let's do the power rankings first. Last power rankings, we had the Seahawks at 1, Chiefs at 2, Steelers at 3, Titans at 4, Ravens at 5, Packers at 6, Bills at 7, Saints at 8, Bucks at 9, and Bears at 10. So let's take a look at how those teams did. First of all, we know the Seahawks lost. Very good game. One of the best games I've seen in a long time, to be honest. They lost to the Cardinals in overtime in Arizona, and we will obviously talk at length about that game. Bears lost to the Rams, looked really bad. Bye week, only team we on the Ravens were on a bye. The rest of them played. Chiefs win in a blowout against the Broncos. Bucks blow out the Raiders. Packers blow out the Texans. Bills win by a score against the Jets. Steelers dominate but win a close one because of a missed field goal against the Titans. Who else we got? Saints squeak one out against the Panthers. And that's it. So let's go ahead and take a look. So the first thing we're doing, obviously, Seattle drops. I'm going to move KC up. I'm going to move Pittsburgh up. I think I'm going to move Tennessee up, honestly. I think Seattle's going to drop down to 4. Ravens, I'm okay with them staying put off the bye week. Green Bay, I'm okay with that. Down here, Buffalo, this is the second time they play the Jets, and both games have not been impressive. This one especially. The Jets were leading. So I'm going to drop the Bills. I'm going to drop the Bills a little bit here. Saints and Bucks, I think I'm going to raise the Bucks. Bucks are going to get the boom here. I'll put them above Green Bay since they beat Green Bay handedly, and they seem to be really rolling. We're also going to obviously drop Chicago, and we're going to bring back, I think, the Rams. I think the Rams are deserved of that. Down here in the bottom, we got the Dolphins, Browns, Jags, Lions, Vikings, Niners, Falcons, Bengals, Cowboys, Texans, Colts, Chargers, Giants, Eagles, Broncos, Panthers, Raiders, Skins, Cardinals, Jets, Patriots, and Bears. Cardinals are probably an honorable mention. Rams are probably higher up. Put the Rams up here. All right, so this is my list right now. This is where I'm at right now. Hey, there's a big sub. There's a big sub right there. Sun Crafty. Just hit that sub button. Welcome, man. They have subbed for 33 months. That's unfreaking believable, dude. Thank you very much for the sub. Big thanks, man. Thank you. If you're listening to this on podcast or watching on YouTube, we do this show live on Twitch twice a week. So thank you very much, Crafty, for all the support. 33 months. Dude, that is insane. Closing in on 3 years. Jesus. Good Lord. That's like longer than every Kardashian marriage combined. So right now, I'm looking at this top 10. And I'm looking at KC at 1, Steelers at 2, Titans at 3, Seahawks at 4, Ravens at 5, Bucks at 6, Green Bay at 7, Rams at 8, Saints at 9, Bills at 10. I think I'm feeling good about this. I think I'm feeling pretty good about this, to be honest. So if I'm breaking it down, I think KC, I've said this before, like, until they give me a reason to not have them at 1, I'm going to have them at 1. You know what I mean? Like, if they slip up, sure. But until they give me a prolonged reason to not think they're the best team in the NFL, I'm going to believe they're the best team in the NFL. And they have Le'Veon Bell, who hasn't even got going yet. Pittsburgh is a machine right now. They are so methodical. They're just like, they're almost a perfect team. I mean, they are nasty. They are really, really good. Now, they play Baltimore this upcoming week, and they're a big dog. They opened up at a 6-point dog. So this is going to be season-defining for both of these two teams. Tennessee gets a loss, but not a bad loss. I'll tell you that. Not a bad loss at all. Missed field goal, came back against Pittsburgh, was down early, so I'm not going to penalize them too much. Seattle drops from 1 to 4. Tough game against Arizona. Still a good team, but there are some holes. They're still dangerous. Ravens are on a bye, so I can't do too much with them. Bucks are, we'll talk about that during the Bucks game, but I may need to issue an apology to Tom Brady. But the Bucks are absolutely rolling right now. I still don't think they are on the same level as some of these other teams, but they are moving. Green Bay did the job. But I think they're about the same as we thought they were. I don't think much has changed my opinion on them. Rams are looking really good, man. Rams are looking really good despite flaws, despite Jared Goff, despite a very simple offense. Sean McVay, what a job he's doing. But the defense is really good. And I don't think this Rams team is ceiling very high, but they're playing good right now. So what can you do? The Saints, tight game against the Panthers. You'd like to see them win by more than that, but hey, you got the job done. Bills are just slipping. I think the Bills are being found out pretty quick, to be honest. I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised right now if the Bills, if I had to pick one team in this list that wasn't going to finish the season in my top 10, it's the Bills. I think going to chat here. I think Dallas is at 10 for me. Dude, Andy Dalton, man. Andy Dalton had the worst knockout of the weekend, and we had UFC fights this weekend. So that's my top 10. Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Tennessee, Seattle, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, all the Bays, the Rams, Saints, and Bills rounding it out. Let's go to the games. Let's go to the breakdown, huh? Giants, Eagles on a Thursday night. This is, oh man, like, I hate to penalize teams for wins, but Philly, if they're playing any other team in the universe, they lose this game. Like Carson Wentz, I'm not sure what happened to Carson Wentz. All of a sudden now he's like this gunslinging Brett Favre kind of wannabe thing. He made some throws in this game that if your quarterback does in Madden, you get him off the field. Like you get your quarterback off the field and play somebody else. He was throwing, like, there was a few plays where he'd roll out, escape a sack, scramble, turn around, throw it on the run across the field for like trying to get a 4-yard gain. It's like a 66-yard pass for a 4-yard gain into triple coverage. And I mean, they probably should have lost this game, to be honest. I still think Philadelphia is the best team in the NFC East just because there's nobody else. But man, really rough win here. I mean, if there's and look, like Philadelphia is hurt. They are one of the teams who I think will benefit the most from the season progressing. If Philadelphia in week 13, 14 is going to look a whole lot different than Philadelphia now. But man, I mean, like I'm not really worried about that. I'm more worried about Wentz. I'm more worried about what Carson Wentz looks like. I understand this injuries and all that. I get that. But Carson Wentz has to be better. Carson Wentz has to prove he's better. I'm not sure where the Carson Wentz was or where the Carson Wentz is that almost won the MVP before he got hurt. But Philly needs to see more of that. But the Giants, congratulations. The Giants lost again, which means they're closer to the first overall pick, which is what they want. Saints, Panthers, weird game. Really weird game here. I always felt like the Saints were dominating this game, but then they weren't. You know what I mean? Like, but then they kind of weren't. The bigger question for me with the Saints is like off the field. So we hear all about the Michael Thomas stuff, where Michael Thomas is hurt or he's being disciplined or whatever. I think I would not mind at all trading Michael Thomas. I think it's obvious that Drew Brees does not need Michael Thomas. Obviously, Michael Thomas is good. Obviously, Michael Thomas is a top 3 receiver in the league. Obviously, it's better to have Michael Thomas than not have Michael Thomas. But of all the players that could get by with trading Michael Thomas, getting resources, and still succeeding, it'd be Drew Brees. Drew Brees, Marquez Callaway, I love how Marquez Callaway is playing. I am all in on Marquez Callaway. So, we talk about Sean Payton struggling a little bit with, almost calling like 5-quarter games. I think we have enough talent. We have enough to make this offense work. We have enough to make the New Orleans Saints work. I don't think the New Orleans Saints are a Super Bowl team. I don't think Michael Thomas makes them a Super Bowl team. So instead of him just sitting on the sidelines, instead of him just causing whatever trouble he's causing, get rid of him, get absolute ton back for him, and go from there. We aren't there yet, but the Saints will be rebuilding very soon here. The Saints will be in that second era of after Drew Brees. So why not already stack that up? Why not already stack up draft picks or stack up whatever you got to do and move on Michael Thomas, who obviously is a bit of a locker room problem. So, I mean, Sean Payton came out and said that they aren't interested in trading Thomas, but you know how that goes. So, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he was moved. I think I'm not sure. I'm not in the locker room, but something's going on. I don't know what it is, but something is happening. But I love how Marquez Callaway is playing, and Emmanuel Sanders has COVID. But if you're looking at this offense, you have Drew Brees, you have Alvin Kamara, you have Latavius Murray, you have Marquez Callaway, you have Emmanuel Sanders, you have Kamara getting his catches. That's fine. That's okay. So this is a big win at home, divisional. Carolina's playing good. Teddy played great in this game. It was good to see him back and all that stuff. But these are the wins you got to get. These are the wins you got to get, especially with Tampa Bay playing as good as they're playing. This was a huge win for the Saints. This keeps the division title hope alive, and that's what we need. We need that division title and go from there. Next up, Lions-Falcons. So the Falcons blow another one. This was pretty crazy. I think the stat is there's 3 games this season so far the Falcons have lost where they were like 96% to win or higher, and that's really something else. So yes, the Falcons are bad, but I think it's also important to remember the Falcons are unlucky. Like, that's not normal, and that's an anomaly that when you see, you have to remember that. So yes, the Falcons are 1-6. Yes, they're 0-4 at home, but there's at least 2 games that probably should have been wins that are losses. The Falcons, I'm not going to sit here and say they're good. I'm not going to sit here and say like, hey, this is a team that can turn it around. But you talk about unfortunate is what the Falcons are doing. I think they're looking better under Raheem Morris instead of Dan Quinn. Matt Ryan seems to be playing a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, this is just the Falcons. This is the Falcons. This is, and you wonder if it is starting to become part of that culture where this team just feels like, how it is. Like, how sometimes in life is kicking your ass and you feel like nothing, like you feel like only bad things are happening to you. And you're just walking around like, what else can happen? And then you like drop your dinner or something. And then you walk outside and a bird shit on your car. And then you notice that you spill some coffee on like a shirt or something. Like, it's just the Murphy's Law thing where everything bad can happen will happen. I feel like when people get in that rut where they're expecting bad things to happen, bad things do happen. And I'm not talking about karma. It just happens. I feel like the Falcons are kind of doing that where ever since the Super Bowl, they're probably thinking like we're cursed or, only bad shit happens to us, or if anything can go wrong, it will. And I feel like you have to have a cultural shift before you can get over that. And the Falcons need that cultural shift. Dan Quinn leaving obviously is a good step in the right direction there, but you wonder what else it'll be. It'll probably be a new coach. It'll probably be a coach coming in from the outside and trying to revamp that locker room. It may even be, another player coming in, like a big free agent or a big draft pick or something, just to reinvigorate the franchise, someone from the outside. But obviously, right now, what is there is not working. Detroit Lions, look, they're still playing. They're still in a competitive division. They're 3-3, 3-1 on the road. They get a couple division wins. All of a sudden, this Lions team could be sniffing the playoffs. So, as bad as we were talking about Matt Patricia earlier on, and he was terrible. This team is still fighting, still clawing, still scratching. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving down the line for them. Matt Stafford's an interesting piece. I've heard a lot of teams talking about trading for Matt Stafford and trying to go get Matt Stafford. Some of these teams that are kind of in contention but have really bad quarterbacks. So, I don't think Detroit will move Stafford, but it is interesting to see his name being thrown around since he's been at Detroit for his entire career. Next up, Browns-Bengals. Oof. Browns. Baker Mayfield, man, I tell you what, I was this close to tweeting. I may have even tweeted about how Baker Mayfield is bad because he started off the game so bad. And Baker turned it around. I'll give him that. I think this is who Baker is. I think Baker is generally, consistently, long-term bad. I think in spots, he can be magical. I think in spots, pressure on, back against the wall, come back. In those settings, I think he can be good. And that's almost what he needs. He almost needs that setting of, well, I've already screwed up as much as I possibly can. So I'm now just kind of playing with house money, and then he's pretty damn good. I mean, he went at one point. I think he was like 0 for 8 with an interception and no passing yards in the first quarter, and he ends up 22 of 28, 297 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. This is probably the best game he's ever played as a pro. This is probably Baker Mayfield's best game he ever played for as a pro, and it started off with the worst game he's ever played as a pro. So really impressive stuff. This is an interesting win for the Browns because this is really not what they planned. This is really not what they wanted. You know, they don't want Baker Mayfield to have to go throw 5 touchdowns. They don't want Baker Mayfield to have to throw the ball for 300 yards. They want to dominate on the ground, and they didn't. They didn't. This was a lot of Baker Mayfield. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm the first one to kind of give him a lot of hell because I just don't think he's that good. But this was one of those like defining wins that could turn his career around. Honestly, this was him being magical. This is him being dangerous. I'm reading chat here. We were missing Mixon, Jackson, Reeder, Waynes, Hubbard, Atkins, and Dunlap pretty much, and lost 3 starting linemen, and we're down to our literal last lineman available and almost won the game. Yeah, I mean, you know, Cincinnati's weird. Cincinnati's really weird because I think we've talked about how good Joe Burrow is. We've talked about how good he is and how good some of that is. We also talked about the ceiling for Cincinnati. Cincinnati is, I think the preseason, I think I said they were a 4-win team, something like that. And I said their absolute ceiling was like 6 wins. And that's if they get a couple lucky wins that they really shouldn't have had. So it's like, it's not, Cincinnati is one of those things. And I know, you know, we've got Bengals fans in the chat. I know it's hard to see this game and be like, you know, or see these losses and be disappointed, or see these losses and, you know, want more. But this is kind of the track. This is kind of what Cincinnati, this is where they should be, you know. And I'll tell you why. Cincinnati's offensive line was bad coming into the season. They're bad right now. They cannot run the football. The only time they can run the football is when I bet against them, or when I bet against them. That's the only time they can run the football. They ran the ball 21 times for 81 yards with a 3.9 average. You know, like Joe Burrow was incredible. Joe Burrow is good. He's good every game except one, you know. So this is just kind of Cincinnati. It's unfortunate they've lost a lot of these games where they should have won. It's unfortunate that, you know, they're leading and they can't hold on to a lead, or they can't do whatever. It's really hard for a team to hold on to a lead when a team can't run the football. This, like, if you look at these stats, if you look at this and you're like, okay, well, how do you think this game went? You'd probably be like, well, Cincinnati probably had to come from behind. You know, like this, they have less carries than the Browns. You know, so, and that's with Joe Burrow carrying it 6 times for 34 yards. You take away Joe Burrow, and this is way worse. This is like on running plays, on running handoff plays, they're averaging like 3 yards a carry. And that's just not going to work. And this is what we've talked about the whole year, is that this is what Cincinnati has to fix. Cincinnati, has a franchise, has to see this and say, okay, we've got to go get an offensive line. We have to go get an offensive line to, 1, protect Joe Burrow, and 2, make it to where we can possibly run the football. Just run the football whatsoever. And if they can't do that, then you know, the franchise will probably suffer. But that's what they have to do. That's their goal right now, is moving forward of go get offensive linemen. However you have to do it. Browns are 5-2. I mean, I think they're a pretty fake 5-2, but they're 5-2. Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL. He's out for the season. He was not been good, but you know, that obviously hurts. It's interesting. I've heard a lot of people say they don't know if Odell Beckham will come back. And I think that is kind of interesting because you don't ever want to doubt somebody. You don't want to doubt their passion or their want or whatever. But Odell Beckham does seem like the kind of guy who would be okay with just sailing off into the void. You know, I would not be shocked if Odell Beckham was like, you know, I had a pretty good career here. I'm going to take a few years, go do whatever I want, whatever. You know, so I'm not predicting that Odell Beckham doesn't play again, but it would not surprise me at all if he does not play again. Wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But obviously that'll be a big loss for the Browns. Even and I say that it's not like he was the everything for the Browns, and maybe it'll even open up their passing attack a little bit with Baker not feeling like he has to get Odell his touches. So that that's something to watch right there. But the Browns are 5-2, and sometimes winning ugly is still winning. Steelers Titans, what a game, man! What a game. This James Conner was fantastic. James Conner, he doesn't get the credit I think he deserves for being like a bell cow back, for being a true grinder back. I mean, 20 carries on this Titans defense, average over 4 yards a carry. That's what they want to do, and let Big Ben. And Big Ben really didn't play very well. I mean, 3 interceptions. You do not win a lot of games when you lose the turnover battle like this. They were -3 in the turnover battle, so they're -3 in the turnover battle and still win the game on the road. That's really shocking. Derrick Henry, not great. Tannehill was okay, but this is kind of the Tannehill we were talking about. Like last week, we said, I see Tannehill having big games in the middle of the season. I see him putting up numbers, but I have never seen him have a big game in a big spot. This is a big spot. An 18 for 30 for 220 yards. It ain't good. Obviously, 2 touchdowns, no picks is good, but this has to be better. Big Ben, winning despite this. I mean, this is tough. I know at least one of these interceptions was in the end zone, so not strong there. But this is Pittsburgh, man. Pittsburgh jumped up quick, 24-7, and then if the game would have been 5 quarters long, then Tennessee probably wins this game. So I'm going to chat here. I just saw this on Twitter, totally random, but it's blowing my mind. So of the top 50 100-meter times in history, only 15 were run by runners not on PEDs or some sort of illegal substance. All 15 are Usain Bolt. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, look, the Olympics, make no mistake about it, the Olympics is a doping. The Olympics is probably one of the biggest doping events ever. I would guess almost every athlete, especially back then when testing was so lax, every athlete is doping. To get to that point, you got to be doping. Back to the football. Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is good. Obviously, I think Pittsburgh is really, really, really good. But I just wonder how good they can be with Big Ben. I mean, if they can win a game with him playing like this, 5.5 average, 3 picks, if they can win a game with him looking like this, maybe that just shows how good they are. But what's going to happen if they need Big Ben? Like, what happens if they need him to do something? Can he do it? So I might need to see that before I'm ready to go ahead and say they're Super Bowl contenders. But, man, they are really good right now. And their defense is so damn good. And their offense just seems to be doing what it has to do. Tennessee's a funny team because they have to, they need a very specific thing to happen for them to be good, right? They need Derrick Henry to be good. Derrick Henry has to get 100 yards, basically. That's pretty much it. If Derrick Henry gets 100 yards, the Titans are good. If he doesn't get 100 yards, they really struggle. And when you look at Tannehill, 18 of 30 for 220, and then you see that 6 of those receptions were to A.J. Brown for 153 yards, and then you realize that he only threw for a little over 60 yards to the rest of his receivers, a lot of questions. Tough game here. This was a smash mouth, early 90s. This is old school football. Pittsburgh is now the only undefeated team in the NFL. And, man, they're rolling. But like I said, next week, Baltimore Ravens. That's going to be a season-defining game between those two. Next up, Bills-Jets. Man, look, Bills. The Bills were down. I mean, the Bills were down in this game pretty early and clawed their way back. I don't know. I don't know what to say about the Bills. We've said it every single damn week. The Bills need Josh Allen to be Superman every game. Josh Allen was 30 of 43 for 307 yards and then ran for 60 yards. What else do you want him to do? Now, he didn't get in the end zone, but this team just needs something else. I don't know what it is, but they need something else. And this is against the Jets, who are anemic. Sam Darnold, 12 of 23, 120 yards, 2 picks, no touchdowns. Really bad game from him. Frank Gore and LaMichael Pirine splitting carries, 11 carries for both. Gore ran pretty well, 5.5 yard average. The Jets, they're sucking. They're sucking for the first overall pick, no doubt about that. I hate it for Sam Darnold, man, because I think he's so good. Or not so good, but I think he's got so much talent, so much potential. I just don't know if we'll ever see it. But the Jets are going after that first overall pick. This is a team that could easily be 0-16. And that does not happen very often. As far as the Bills, I'm off the Bills bandwagon. I think the Bills, at the beginning of the season, we were talking about how they might have the best roster in the NFL. I am off this bandwagon right here. I think the Bills, they're going to have to prove it to me. They're going to have to prove it to me. They're going to have to show me something here. Let's look at the team stats. So I mean, this is when you got to look at these stats. So the total yards, the Bills have 422 total yards, and the Jets have 190 yards. And you see that, and you're like, okay, well, the game, it should be about 35-0, and it was 18-10. And the Bills had to come back to win this. So those are these misleading numbers where, let's say the turnover battle, Jets were -1. Look at first downs. Yeah, I mean, you look at the first downs, 26 first downs for Bills, 17 for the Jets. Total yards, 422, 190. This final is a bit misleading, just if you look at the stats. So that's something you got to remember. But the Bills, I need the Bills to figure it out. I can't keep doing this every single week where I'm like, well, the Bills should have won by 20. Well, they're not winning by 20, so why are they not winning by 20? I have to have an answer. I have to know why. And who do they play next? Bills play the Patriots next. Patriots have been terrible. So, murderer's row right here. Look at this schedule. Patriots, Seahawks, Cardinals, Chargers, Niners, Steelers. Ay caramba. So we're going to learn a lot about the Bills coming up. That's for sure. Going to chat here. Rip Saints. What do you mean, dude? The Saints got to win. Saints won. Saints are rolling, baby. Saints are rolling. The dream is still alive. Next game. Cowboys, Washington. Oh, my God. Okay. What else can be said about the Cowboys that we haven't already said? What else can be said? This I mean, I don't know where to start. I really don't. Oh, well, I do know where to start. Fire Mike McCarthy. Fire Mike McCarthy. That's the first thing. And then you move. How the hell is Ezekiel Elliott getting 40 yards a game, 12 carries with Dak Prescott being out? Answer me that. This is his game log. So Dak Prescott goes down the Giants game. Back-to-back games. 12 attempts for 49 yards, 12 attempts for 45 yards. What? How has Zeke, let's say you're Dallas, okay? You already paid him. You already paid Zeke. You've already said you're our guy. Your other guy who you didn't pay, Dak Prescott, is out. You have to let Zeke be the guy. You've already sold your soul to him. Zeke doesn't have over 100 yards this entire season. At what point, and we've said this before, at what point is Zeke just not that good? At what point is he not that good? I would say right now. I'd say that point is right now. Going to chat here. He fumbled twice the other game. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I understand the fumbles. But you have to accept that. You have to accept, hey, man, he fumbled, sure, but he's our guy. We paid him. He's our running back. He's our franchise running back. We don't really have a choice. I mean, if he was a rookie, if he was a guy you haven't signed yet, yeah, okay, play somebody else. Yeah, okay, give someone else the ball. Sure. But that's not the case. This is your boy. You have already locked him in. This is your boy. So you have to give him the ball. You have to make him work. There is no other option. He is kind of giving me Todd Gurley feels last year, like Kenyon Drake feels this year. Well, Gurley was hurt, so that is a little different. Gurley was hurt. Kenyon Drake, yeah, I mean, I can see that. O-line is beat up a lot, to be fair. I don't care about that at all. Like, I don't care about that at all. You got to give him the ball. You got to give him the ball and let him figure it out. Like, if the O-line is beat up, fine. If the O-line's beat up, whatever. It is what it is. But you can't say, hey, man, the O-line's beat up, so we're not going to give the ball to Ezekiel Elliott, and we're going to let Andy Dalton sling it, or let whoever the hell the third-string quarterback is sling it. You know? I don't get that. I don't get that at all. That doesn't make any sense. So it's just a breakdown. Dallas is a breakdown in just like the fundamental stuff. You know, I don't need Zeke. I don't need him to be average. He's not Derrick Henry. You know, I understand that. I understand that he isn't going to do it. You know, I understand he's not going to be a 25 carries for 220 yards. Okay, sure. But it is what it is. I don't understand. I hear that all the time from sports media people, where it's like, oh, well, he needs some help, or, oh, well, you know, the pass protection's not there, oh, well, the receiver core is banged up, or it's like, look, none of that matters. You know, it's like the whole close is only counts on horseshoes and hand grenades. Same deal. It's like, look, you don't have time. You don't have time to be like, well, offensive line's busted up, so sorry, Zeke. Hey, man, we're on the field. We are on the field. You've got to call plays. The time for that is over. The time for that is sayonara. You got to get your best players the ball, regardless of who's on the field or what the team looks like or what the injuries are or any of that stuff. You know, next man up. It's got to be a next man up mentality, just like San Francisco. San Francisco was missing literally 15 starters. They're still running the football. They're still doing what they have to do to win. They still have a game plan. Dallas does not have a game plan. The Mike McCarthy, I saw a sports media person was like, is there a world where the Dallas Cowboys fire Mike McCarthy after week 1 or after season 1? What? Is there a world? Bruv, the world should be week 7. Mike McCarthy should not be coaching this team any longer. They have got to fire the entire coaching staff. This team is done. If I'm Dallas, I've said it before. If I was the GM of Dallas Cowboys, I think we'd be in the Super Bowl within the next 5 years. And the first thing I'd do is gut the entire coaching staff. I would gut the entire coaching staff and go from there. Andy Dalton took an absolute devastating shot. A devastating shot. And he's out. I can't imagine he'll play this upcoming week. Do they have a game this week, or they're on a bye? No, they have a game. Yep, they play the Eagles. Very important game, actually. So maybe Dalton will play. This is the NFL. But when that's one of those shots where it's like, he's not going to be right in a week. So we could be seeing Devanucci or whatever the hell his name is playing Ben DiNucci. So Dallas, I mean, this is bad, man. This is real bad. Really, really bad. As far as Washington, always good to see them get a win. Ron Rivera, I think, finished his chemo treatments. Ron Rivera cheered at hospital. His treatment's finished. Amazing to see there. I love what Ron Rivera is doing. Ron Rivera is teaching these kids how to be men. Kyle Allen, hey, man, is he good? No, but he's better than all this other stuff. So, Washington, another one of those teams where they're winning despite what's going on. The challenges that Washington is facing right now is you can't even put into words. And the fact that they're 2-5, very impressed with Washington. Next game. Packers-Texans. Tough game here. Deshaun Watson played really well in a losing effort. 29-39, 309 yards, 2 touchdowns. Added another 38 yards on the ground. Green Bay, 23-34, 283, 4 touchdowns, no picks for Rodgers. Jamal Williams, 19 carries, 77 on the ground. Devontae Adams went bananas and pajamas, 13 receptions, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is pretty much what you'd expect. Houston's not a good team. Houston's a bad team with a good quarterback. And you wonder, man, I tell you what, can you imagine if the Rams had Deshaun Watson? Can you imagine if the Niners had Deshaun Watson? Can you imagine if these teams, the Bears, had Deshaun Watson? These teams that are completely inept at quarterback, if they had a player like Deshaun Watson? This is just a bad team. They don't have any other help. And it's just Deshaun Watson out there. And we've said all year that the Texans might have one of the worst rosters in the NFL with Deshaun Watson, and they prove it. The Packers do their job, take care of business on the road. Packers are good. Packers are good. Packers are not great, but they're certainly good, and this is a good win. Go to the next one here. Bucks Raiders. Man, hey, I'm not ready to issue an apology to Tom Brady, but he's playing really, 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 really good right now. I mean, Tom Brady is playing. He's playing like it's 2009. That's the deal. That's the deal. He's playing like it's 2009. I mean, he's out of control. He's making some throws that are just you don't make at 42 years old. So he's making me look pretty stupid because I've said that he's probably about the 20th best quarterback in the NFL. He's playing like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and if that's the case, this team is real. I mean, if Tom Brady now let me put this into perspective. I don't think this is sustainable for Tom Brady. I do not believe this is sustainable. I do not believe he's an MVP candidate. I do not believe he's a top 5 quarterback. He is playing like that right now, but I don't think that's going to last. If it does last, this team can be a Super Bowl contender. I mean, we know how good Tom Brady is. You know what I mean? Chris Godwin had a surgery on his finger, so he will miss some time. Gronk has been really good. That's even more surprising. We kind of knew that Brady could have these moments. We know that Brady could be good, but I did not think Gronkowski could be this good. And it might be hand in hand. It might be one of those things where hand in hand, Gronk may be doing good because Brady's doing so good, but Brady may be doing so good because Gronk is getting involved. You know, Brady has looked his best when he has good tight ends with Gronk or Aaron Hernandez, he who shall not be named. So maybe that's a big part of it. But, man, I mean, the Buccaneers are steamrolling people. They've had back-to-back games against good competition, but they've completely embarrassed whoever they're playing. So the Bucs right now, if the playoffs were starting right now, the Bucs would probably be a not a bad shout to go to the Super Bowl. But it's a long season. They've got to hold this together. I will say this, though. We said at the beginning of the season, this was the hard stretch for the Bucs. The first 6-7 games was the hard stretch. The first 8 games, first half of the season would be the hardest part, where they're not used to each other. They're not used to the system. They're not used to Brady. They're not used to all that stuff. And we said if they're one game over 500, that'd be really good. And I could see them winning 10 straight games. So the fact that they're 5-2 and they look this good is really bad for the rest of the league, because this team is just going to, barring injury, this team is just going to keep getting better as they get more comfortable with each other. And we said before, and we still stick with it, the defense is really real. The defense is really, really good. The defense is really good, and that's not going to change. So the question is, if you're a Buccaneers fan, or if you're if you're following the Bucs, the question is, can Tom Brady be this good for the entire season? That's the question. Going to chat here. Fournette fits perfectly for them. I've noticed as well. Yeah, between Jones and Fournette and Gronk, man, I'm not saying he's the best tight end, but yeah, I mean, I'm with you. You know what I mean? I'm with you. And the only other loss besides the very first game with no preseason was Chicago on a fluky Thursday night. I'm less like Fournette. I think it'd be less impactful. I think it's more just kind of like, the running backs just there to do their thing. Antonio Brown's coming, though. Antonio Brown's coming, and Tom Brady wants him. That's important. That's really important. Tom Brady wants him. Tom Brady went and got him. Tom Brady said, give me Antonio Brown, and Tom Brady has played with him before. So you got to think that if Tom Brady's asking for him, then Tom Brady is going to use him. And if Antonio Brown has a chip on his shoulder, and if Antonio Brown can play the season, if Antonio Brown has his head in the game, that's even more. That's even more. Now, I'll say this. If Chris Godwin comes back, then I mean, it's one of those like embarrassment of riches where having Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown isn't a bad thing, but I'm not going to make a huge deal out of what probably will be their third receiver, you know. As far as the Raiders, I mean, you know, sometimes you get got. Sometimes in life you get got. They got got. The Raiders 3-3 now. Drop this one at home. I've been pretty down on the Raiders all season. I just don't think John Gruden's that good of a coach. I don't think Derek Carr's that good of a quarterback. Right here, you can see the problem. They couldn't run the football. You can't run the football on this team. I mean, the Buccaneers defense is that nasty. You can't run on them, and that's it. Going to chat here. I love what the head coach said about Brown. He said, be a team player or be gone. I mean, good God, imagine trying to defend one of Godwin, Evans, or Brown with your third cornerback or a safety. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a matchup nightmare. It's just, you know, how many times will they be on the field together? There's a lot of questions. But, yeah, I mean, it's a matchup nightmare for sure. Next up, Chiefs, Broncos. This was a really good game for the Chiefs. I mean, this is in the snow. This is in Denver. This was a terrible weather game, and they win 43-16 with Patrick Mahomes going 15-23 for 200 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, I'll say this. This was another game where a lot of shit happened that makes the score look a lot better than it was. They had a kickoff return. They had fumbles. They had an interception return. So this was a big, big, big game for the defense. 3 defensive touchdowns. 3 defensive touchdowns. All right? That's a lot. That's a whole hell of a lot for this team. You know, like I said, interception for a touchdown. They had a kick return for a touchdown. So this team, this is a weird win for the Chiefs. It's not like, oh, the Chiefs put up 43. The Chiefs' offense is unbelievable. This is more of a team win here, but a good win. Anytime you win in the snow like that in Mile High, good win for sure. 100% for sure there. So the Chiefs, like I've said all season long, other teams struggle in this spot. Other teams would struggle in the snow, struggle in Denver. The Chiefs just put up 43 with a pretty bad offensive game, to be honest. If we're looking at the stats here. Yeah, I mean, this is another one. Like, this is one we talked about where you look at the stats. Denver had 7 more first downs. Denver won the time of possession. Denver had 140 more yards. And they lose because they were -3 in turnovers. You know, they're -3 in turnovers, and Kansas City's defense went nuts. So this is what I mean, though. Like, Kansas City is not playing very well right now, but they're dominating teams. They're not playing very well and blowing teams out. You know, so good win for the Chiefs. I mean, this was like, you got to be scared for what's going to happen when the Chiefs turn it on, when the Chiefs figure it out and start playing like the Chiefs we know. Next game, 49ers Patriots. Oh my God. This was the worst home loss in Bill Belichick's era. This was probably the worst Patriots game I've ever seen. This was unbelievable how bad the Patriots. I watched this entire game. This was unfreaking believable how bad the Patriots were. The Patriots were completely gone on defense. The Niners could have scored whenever the hell they wanted. They could have done whatever the hell they wanted. Jimmy G wants to throw passes? Sure. They want to run the football? Sure. Jeff Wilson running for 112 yards? Sure. Jermichael Hasty running for 63 yards? Or a 6.3 average? Sure. Jimmy Garoppolo, 20-25 for 277. No touchdowns, 2 picks just for the hell of it. One of those picks was a Hail Mary at the end of the game, or at the end of the half, so it is what it is. But, whoa, New England. How the hell did New England go from what we saw them do early on in the season, look really good? People like me was saying that Cam Newton was playing at an MVP level, and now he looks like he shouldn't even be in the NFL. He went from, hey, man, give him the MVP. Hey, man, this guy is better than Tom Brady. I mean, whoa. This team dominated Miami in the first game of the year. Went and played a tough game at Seattle. A tough game. And this shit right here was like, I mean, this team, within 2 weeks, this team went from a possible AFC champion, Super Bowl kind of team, to they're they're probably the third worst team in the division, and they would be the worst team in the division if the Jets weren't in the division. This was really bad. I mean, if I'm a GM, if I'm an owner, I'm looking at this game, I'm bringing all the coaches into the room, and I'm saying, all right, guys, someone is going to have to explain to me what just happened. Someone's going to have to explain to me how we did this at home against Frisco, against Jimmy Garoppolo, who was in this building for a few years. How did this happen? I mean, Jared Stidham played at the end of the game. This is back-to-back really bad performances from Cam Newton. And I'll tell you this, I'm not a body language expert. I'm not a NFL quarterback coach. When Cam Newton was throwing the ball, it looked like he could not throw the football. He looked exactly like he looked at the beginning of his last season in Carolina before he went on the IR, where you were looking at him throw and you were like, is something wrong? Is something wrong with his arm? Is something wrong with him? Because he's not really throwing. Doesn't really look like he's throwing the football. So I don't know, man. A lot of questions for New England. I would be embarrassed if I lived on the East Coast. Like, they embarrassed the entire geographical region. That's how bad they were. Going to the chat here. If they lose to the Bills, then there's a problem. Though there is a problem. There is a problem. This was a problem. This was a schoolyard beating. I mean, this was a game. The beating was so severe. Like, this should have been a TV 14 rating. This shouldn't have been on cable. The fact that this was on cable, I'm worried that children saw this game. I'm worried that people under the age of 17 watched this game. This was a smut film. This was like a foreign film. I mean, this is something that this Halloween came early in New England. I mean, there's not a lot else to say about this. This was bowling shoe ugly, as they say. If your dog looked this ugly, or if your dog looked this bad on a Sunday afternoon, you'd put him down on a Monday morning. That's where New England is right now. Does Cam Newton play? Like, does he start next game? I don't know. Back-to-back games where it's like, hey, Cam, did you just forget? Do you need Michael's magic sauce? Like, did you forget how to play quarterback? This was real bad. Real bad. It is like the Patriots are getting cold for Christmas. Yeah, I mean, they're 2-4. You know what I mean? It's like they're 2-4. They're done. They're out. They're done. I'm writing the Patriots off. If you think the Patriots have some Patriots magic and the Patriots have a chance to right the ship and make a run, they don't at all. I mean, you talk about, it's funny because in the second week of the season, I was sitting here telling people like the Patriots are better off without Tom Brady. Bill Belichick looks good because they're doing so well without Brady. Egg on my face. Egg on my face. I was wrong. I was wrong. Everyone was wrong. Whew. Frisco, I'll say this though. Didn't mean to rhyme there. They are winning. Like, we talked about Dallas earlier, and we were saying like, hey, Patriots are not going to the playoffs, in my opinion. Hell no. Patriots aren't going to be 500, much less the playoffs. We were talking about Dallas and saying Dallas has a lot of injuries, production levels. And this is what I'm talking about. There is no team more injured in the NFL than the San Francisco 49ers. And they next man up. Next man up. They are the most injured team in the NFL, and they held the Patriots to 6 points at home. They are the most injured team in the NFL, and they're averaging 5.3 yards on the ground. Like, this team right here, this is what good coaching gets you. This is what a good organization gets you. And it's not like they're doing this with a star quarterback. They're doing this with Jimmy Garoppolo, who's throwing picks all over the damn shop. Frisco, man, hey, well done to Frisco for being this competitive with this many injuries. A lot of other teams would have folded it up. A lot of other teams would have closed up shop. Next game. Jags Chargers. Guys, I said last week, I said that I think Justin Herbert is the best rookie quarterback in the NFL. I think he's better than, right now, I think he's better than the boy Joey Burrow. And he was really, really, really good in this game. Justin Herbert is so much better for the Chargers than he was for Oregon. It's kind of unbelievable. Jags, all I'm going to tell you, Jags, is that y'all suck. And that Gardner Minshew sucks. And that Gardner Minshew should not be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So if you want to win Jacksonville, step one get Gardner Minshew off the field. Step 2, fix your defense. It's the last thing I'm going to say about Jacksonville. Chargers, I think Burrow is, I think Herbert, going to chat here. I think Joe Burrow is better than Justin Herbert. I mean, it's close, but if I had to pick one of the two, I would pick Justin Herbert. Herbert is, like, you got to feel good, man. If you're the Chargers, you're like, Justin Herbert is the best quarterback in LA. He's better than Jared Goff. So if you're the Chargers, you're sitting there and you're looking around, you're like, damn. We've got Austin Eckler who didn't even play. We've got Keenan Allen. We've got Justin Herbert. We got a little bit of a team. We got a little bit of a damn tier. We got Joey Bosa. The Chargers are 2-4, yes, but moving forward, you got to feel really good if you're the LA Chargers. And you throw a couple of big draft picks in there, big free agent signings. The Chargers could be good moving forward for the next couple years. And that's if Justin Herbert just takes a step forward. He's playing right now at a level, like, you can win at this level. And you got to think, this team blew a game against the Buccaneers. Completely blew a game against the Buccaneers and completely blew a game against the Saints and lost to the Chiefs in overtime. So this team could easily be, let's see, 1, 2, it could be 5-1. This team could easily be 5. This team should be 5-1. Talk about, or imagine if that doctor doesn't stab Tyrod's lung. Talk about butterfly effect. Yeah. Is that doctor Justin Herbert's dad? If that doctor doesn't stab Tyrod Taylor's lung, then who knows what would happen? But this team could be 5-1. This team, for the Chiefs game, was a tight game. They should have beat the Saints and they should have beat the Bucs. So Justin Herbert, amazing. Amazing. If you're a Chargers fan, you got to feel real good right now. Next game, Seahawks Cardinals. Really good game. Now, let me start off saying this. I thought Cliff Kingsbury called a terrible game here. I thought he had some really, really big mistakes. The first mistake that people won't talk about is at the end of the first half, he had one timeout, and it was like 15 seconds left, and he called a designed quarterback run. And Kyler Murray had to run, then he had to run sideways to try and get out of bounds. He didn't get out of bounds. So then they had to burn the timeout. Then they had to try and just throw to the end zone. They couldn't kick field goal. What are you doing calling the run? Like, what do you expect to happen? Let's say best case scenario, Kyler runs 5 yards, doesn't get touched, then has to turn to the sidelines and run an additional 20 yards to get out of bounds to stop the clock. But it's still going to kill time. I thought that was terrible. I thought that was one of those things where that's almost a fireable offense. Second problem is after DK Metcalf has the effort play of the century and hawks down Budda Baker, and they don't score when they don't convert on fourth down. The third and goal play where you do the designed run with Kyler Murray to the left, I'm okay with moving him out of the pocket, but why give him no option to pass? Like, even if you say, hey, Kyler, your first move here is to run, you should still have a receiver or someone pulling through the back of the end zone so that if the play is stuffed like it was, Kyler at least has the opportunity to throw the ball out of the end zone. Next was kicking it on second down. I understand if it's a 30-yard kick or a 33-yard kick or an extra point, but why a 41-yard field goal on second down? And people are going to say, well, it could have been a negative play. Well, who gives a shit? That's not even the point. The point isn't the yards. The point is the 40 seconds you give Seattle. Because if you're getting a 40-yard field goal, there's a chance you miss it, right? So if you miss it, you want to give Seattle the least amount of time to respond. You don't want to give them 42 or 2 minutes and 42 seconds, run a play on second down, get 1, 2 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, who knows, or get no yards, but drain that 40 seconds. I thought that was terrible. I thought that was god-awful. It was very surprising that he made that many mistakes and Seattle did not make him pay. This was a wild game. I mean, this was a wild game. Kyler Murray was good. I'll say that. I've been pretty critical of Kyler Murray, but he was good. Kyler 34-48, 360 yards, 7.5 yard average. A little less than it needs to be. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He ran really well. 14 carries, 67 yards. Chase Edmonds is going to change his offense so much better than Drake. Yeah, he's so much better than Kenyon Drake. 100%. Kenyon Drake got hurt in this game. Chase Edmonds is way better. He was more dynamic in every facet of the game. I do agree with that. Chase Edmonds is, I'll tell you this right now. This is a me seeing into the future. I'm the best in the world. Kenyon Drake will never start for the Cardinals again unless Chase Edmonds gets hurt or gets traded. Chase Edmonds will be the starting running back for the Arizona Cardinals moving forward for the rest of his career or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Kenyon Drake will never take that spot over again. Russell, I would say this was Russell was good in spots, but he was bad late, and that's surprising. This is not very often you see Russell Wilson play this bad late. He threw 3 interceptions. I think 2. One was in overtime. One was, I think, at the end of the fourth quarter. It was not good. He made some incredible throws. Oh! There's another sub. Another sub there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Burley D. Sub 20 months. Are you kidding me? 20 months on a 4-month streak. Thank you very much, dude. I really appreciate that. 20 months. 2 subs in the same stream here. Who would you think have Chris Carson or Carlos Hyde? I like Carson. I think Carson's good. I think Carson's really good, but he's busted up, so I think he's gonna miss a few weeks. But I like Chris Carson a lot. I don't know how he slipped to the 7th round, but yeah, this was uncharacteristically bad from Russell Wilson late. It doesn't change too much for me as far as like I've been saying. I think Russell Wilson's the MVP. I think Russell Wilson is this. I think he's that. But just because he loses a game on the road in overtime, just because he throws 3 interceptions, I'm not ready to say that he's not the MVP. I'm not ready to say that he's not the best quarterback in the NFL. We're going to see how he bounces back. Knowing Russell, he probably just went and adopted a few puppies or fed a few families. You know, like he probably handled the loss about as good as you can handle a loss, and we'll see what he does moving forward. But DK Metcalf, surprisingly quiet. 2 receptions, 23 yards. They locked him up pretty good. Arizona has a good defense. I think that's surprising to some people. They have a good run defense and a good pass defense. They're top 10 in both, but Seattle still put 34 on them. So this was an interesting game because I would say that Arizona made some big mistakes play call wise. They got through it and they beat an undefeated Seahawks team at home. This is a big win for Arizona. I think Kyler Murray, man. I don't think Kyler Murray is even close to his peak. I don't think he's even close to how good he can actually be. So that's saying something. What I will say about Kyler is that he makes some really bad throws. I've noticed like he's really inaccurate at times, and it's not like he missed by a foot. He'll like just duff it. He'll just throw it into the dirt, throw it 10 yards over their heads. So he needs to work on that a little bit. But great win from the Cardinals. What a division! Unlimited interception Sunday night. I mean, in the last 20 minutes of that game, Russell was everywhere. I'm not sure what happened, but you know, if there's one guy who will bounce back, it's Big Daddy Russ. Last game, Bears Rams. This right here, Nick Foles should be absolutely ashamed of himself. This was one of the worst quarterback games I've ever seen in my entire life. And I mean, if y'all watch this game, the last throw of the game, Nick Foles had a wide open receiver to continue the game, and he just threw it out of bounds. He just underthrew it by about 10 yards and threw it out of bounds. I mean, he was terrible. Terrible. He was making Mitchell Trubisky look pretty damn good. I don't know how good the Bears would be if they had an actual quarterback. If they had Sam Darnold, oh my God. If they had Justin Herbert, if they had Joey Burrow, if they had any of these guys, the Bears might go undefeated. I actually feel bad for Matt Nagy. And I never feel bad for Matt Nagy. But I actually feel bad for him because he's had to have his entire career in Chicago with Mitchell Trubisky and Nick Foles. Get Nick Foles out of my face. Trubisky over Foles and chat? Sure. These two just suck. I mean, these two are awful. Like, sure, whatever. I'll take it. Trubisky over Foles sounds good to me. I mean, I don't know. It's an F versus a D minus. Sure. Like, start whoever you want. Flip a coin. That's what I would do. I just flip a coin every game. I'd rotate him every game. Every game, I just rotate him. Trubisky, you're up. Next week, Foles, you're up. Next week, Trubisky, you're up. That's it. Every single game, I just flip it. Just flip it. What I was kind of surprised is at the beginning of the game, they kind of let Jared Goff do what he wants. I don't know if I'm the only person on the planet who knows what Jared Goff does, but it seems like every other coach has no clue what he wants to do. All Jared Goff wants to do is play action, one-read routes, pressure him. If you hit Jared Goff, he will screw stuff up. If you pressure Jared Goff, he will screw stuff up. They had 1 sack. How did they have 1 sack? This Bears defense got 1 sack. I mean, Jared Goff, I just don't get it. I don't get where the pressure was. I don't get what Chicago was doing. But what a terrible, disgusting display of offense from the Bears here. This was, again, like I said with the Niners, the Rams are winning despite Jared Goff, and Sean McVay needs to be congratulated. Sean McVay, he has how those those guys who have like a car that is just busted up, it doesn't run, it doesn't start all the time, but for some reason they can make it work. Like, they know exactly what to do to make the car work. Like, they jiggle the key, or they go a certain speed, or they have the car so figured out that in anyone else's hands, the car would be undrivable, but in their hands, it actually is serviceable. That's Jared Goff. In anyone else's hands, he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. In Sean McVay's hands, he's gone to a Super Bowl. He's 5-2. He gets protected. I mean, in any other coach's hands, this is one of those games where he just gets obliterated all game. He gets sacked 7 times. In this game, he got hit once. He got sacked once. That was it. Pretty chill. No interceptions. Took care of the ball. I mean, Sean McVay, I could not be more impressed with Sean McVay. Really amazing stuff. This was a good win for the Rams. The defense was amazing, but it's easy to be amazing whenever Nick Foles is your quarterback. I'm not sure what Matt Nagy's doing, but the play calling was super weird here. The whole damn thing was weird to me. The whole game was weird for the Bears. They played, Foles threw an interception in the end zone, threw a reception late. The Bears did not do what they had to do to win this game. In fact, they did what they had to do to lose this game. The defense outscored the offense. Never good. So, if you're a Chicago fan, this is like the fakest 5-2 team of all time. I said it before, and then I bet on the Bears, and they screwed me. The Bears are not good. The Bears are 5-2. You don't win in the NFL with Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky. You do not win in the NFL when they're playing like this, unless your coach is Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan. I would use Taysom Hill, then Trubisky, and Foles. Yeah, seriously, it's like, just do anything else. Do anything else. Because whatever you choose to do, it will not be as bad as Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky. That's just the bottom line. No matter how bad you think someone is, Taysom Hill or whoever, it ain't going to be as bad as Foles, and it ain't going to be as bad as Trubisky. How bad is Nick Foles that he's making people say, yeah, dude, play Mitchell Trubisky? And how bad is Mitchell Trubisky that he made Matt Nagy switch to Nick Foles? This team sucks. Rams are real, man. Rams, what a defense. Their defense, every time they make a tackle, it's like in Madden or NCAA where you have like those players with the trait where every time they hit somebody, they can fumble. Every time there's a tackle with one of these Rams players, I expect the player to fumble. They put some licks on people. But what good win. Very good win for the Rams. What a division. That NFC West, man. If the Niners weren't hurt, if the Niners were at full strength or even close to it, good Lord, what a division. They are nasty. Now, the thing I'll say about the Rams have got to play a pretty cushy schedule. They played the Cowboys, they played the Eagles, they played the Giants, they played the Redskins, or the Washington football team, excuse me. They played the Bears, so they played the Dolphins. So, I will be surprised if they beat the Saints. The Bears, that's the exact kind of game the Saints like to lose. That is the exact kind of game the Saints like to lose right there. I'll tell you that much. But that is week 7, man. That is the games. That is a rundown. We did not have a preview show last week because I was out of bounds or out of I was out of town, not out of bounds. But I plan to have a preview show this week. I will have a preview show later on this week. We'll preview all the upcoming games. I'll do my betting predictions, all that fun stuff. And we are going to end the show there. So thank you very much for everyone in chat. We had a house full in chat today. Everyone getting involved in chat. That's the best part about the show is that it's live. So chat can get in, can ask questions, can give their opinions, can give their hot takes, all that stuff, and we can react to it. So thank you guys for listening. I do appreciate that. We're going to end the show in the stream so I can edit this and get it up, and it'll be on iTunes and Spotify and Stitcher and YouTube and all that stuff shortly. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. I appreciate it, and I'll see you on the preview show later this week.